In a world filled with uncertainty, we are all trying to get physically, mentally, and emotionally healthy. But the struggle is real. The LiveWell Podcast exists to give you fun, relevant, and impactful strategies that will help you get healthy, stay healthy, and live well. Hosted by Dr. Mike Roncesvalles, a clinical psychologist with 2 decades of experience in the field, and his LiveWell crew. We promise the time you spend listening to the LiveWell Podcast will help you thrive like you never have before.
And welcome to the LiveWell Podcast. This is Dr. Mike Roncesvalles. We're glad you're with us today. This is going to be a great show.
It is going to be great.
Yeah. We're excited about this. Today,
we're grateful for it.
We are grateful for this show, for this podcast, for this opportunity, because we're talking about gratefulness, right? How to be grateful.
Gratitude.
And gratitude. I mean, we could do that too. I'm talking about grateful. So our team is we're shifting a little bit, right? Just for today, Alana the Great, Alana Sadhu is not here. She's got the day off.
Yep.
But we do have Trevor. Thanks for being here, Trevor.
Yes, glad to be here.
And Megan.
Hi.
She's in the house, and this is big for us.
Yep.
We've got producer Jacob on mic.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yes.
What's happening, Jacob?
Not much.
You ready for this?
I was born ready.
That's what I'm talking
Love
about.
that.
That's what I'm saying, man. That's what I'm saying. All right, so let's talk about gratefulness. I think we picked this topic because it's over and over and over and over to, again, connected to positive mental health. So gratitude and gratefulness. Megan's like whispering gratitude to me.
Gratitude.
And gratefulness are a part of just healthy living. And I've seen consistently recently, especially, that the research is just mounting at how important this is for people as they begin to try to live healthier lives. So at LiveWell, all we want is for you guys to get healthy and stay healthy and live well, right? So this has got to be a part of what we talk about. So that being said, what do you guys think? Tell me about like great gratitude in your life, gratefulness in your life, and you know what's easy about it, what's hard about it. Let's start there.
Yeah.
Do you want to go, Trevor?
Do I want to go?
Yeah.
Sure, I'll go.
Okay.
Yeah. First is I'm thankful for you guys.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. And I think that.
And you're welcome.
Why? Thank you. In fact,
You're lucky.
We'll get to this later. We were talking about the difference between being thankful and being grateful, right?
Yeah.
So we can get to that. I think it's huge. You talk about as positive, the positive influence in our mental health. And I think gratitude it's so much more than a social response, which we talked about. Oh, thank
Right.
you.
Please and thank
it
you.
really is
Minding our manners.
Yeah, I mean, it really is it's a state, of being. It's a posture in which, or a lens in which we live.
Yeah, it's a feeling almost like you feel it. I feel it in my bones when I'm grateful. So yeah, just to tailor off of that.
Yeah, and so I mean, I guess just to set us into this. I mean, I think it's incredibly valuable that we remember this and practice this on a regular basis. In fact, for me, someone who's a Christian, who's a believer, who prays every day, every time you start out, dear God, thank you. Right?
Yeah.
Thank you for this meal. Thank you for this day. Thank you for my family. Thank you. And it's become, it's just been it's become a part of my prayer life, over time.
That's really interesting. And one of the things that I wrote down here for us to talk about is the connection between gratitude and healthy spirituality. Because I think it's really hard not to have those two pieces together.
Right. Yeah.
So it's cool that that's...
I was thinking when I was walking in here this morning, I was like, every time I pray, it's, dear God, thank you for blah, 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 blah. Or I am grateful for this, that, and the other thing. It's not ever like, can you please do this for me? It's out of gratitude.
That's pretty healthy prayer life. No, seriously, because I think people get caught up in like a lot of petition, like God is some genie up in the sky who's just ready to snap his fingers and grant us our wishes. Yeah. So that's pretty cool. For that's a big piece of what happens inside of you spiritually.
Yeah.
All right, Jacob, you're up, man.
I don't know. I was listening to a sermon yesterday, and it was about marriage. And he was talking about, I think it was, I don't know the exact like timeline, but it was like that attraction kind of fades after like 18 months of something. So if you date someone or marry someone just based off looks, that's gonna fade. And I think that kind of has to do with attraction to anything that you're grateful for, where it kind of fades, which is why I think when it comes to like being thankful, it kind of fades. Like, yeah, we feel it, but it's something like you were saying, it has to be part of your daily routine.
Right.
Or else you're going to forget to be thankful for those things. And it's in the culture we live in today, everybody wants the next best thing. We kind of lose track of the stuff we have. And so that was kind of what was going through my head, thinking about it.
That's some deep words from
Yeah.
producer Jacob
It
there,
is.
man.
Thanks for stepping up today,
Yeah.
Jacob.
And listening to a message on marriage for the single man.
Yeah, seriously. I mean,
Ladies.
how do you,
Right.
we can put Jacob's contact information in the comments for
he
any.
just turned like 3 shades of red. So that's right. If you could only see him on camera.
So I don't know how I feel about this 18 months. Like your attraction wanes
Yeah.
for your spouse. That's kind of.
I think that's a typical time frame for you to lose interest in something. I don't think it's necessarily in all cases. I think it was just based off of what he heard yesterday was the time frame he was given.
It's kind of like that, like that, just like butterflies in your feeling, like just like that
initial like
Sure.
honeymoon
yeah
phase.
Trevor, you think Crystal lost? Is she over me? I mean, I seriously.
I'm even going to attempt to answer
I
that.
don't know how.
I think it's the whole aspect of like
Thanks a
love
lot.
isn't a feeling, it's a job. Like you have to work
Yep.
for it.
Yeah.
That's right.
And so I think
You have to
that's
make an effort.
that's the relevance. I
Yeah.
think right is the idea that gratitude and staying connected to that what amounts to a spiritual state. I think we all kind of agree with that, regardless of whether you're a Christian or whatever. Gratitude is a spiritual state, and our ability to maintain it is somehow connected to like the intention of it. The intention of it. One thing that's been super interesting for me, though, I'll say that might deviate a little bit, is kids have been really different for me. Like I think, a state of like, I like cars, right? So I've always like wanted a nice car, so I'm just a 16-year-old kid since before I was a 16-year-old kid.
Right.
And so I'd always be like 2 years, I'd want a new car. That's just kind of how I am. I'm just like, well, that was awesome, but I want this now. But with kids, that's been a little different for me because I like that sense of gratitude for my babies that are now like 19 and 14 and 12. It's still as strong as it's ever been. And so there's like something deeply like, I don't know, moving about that experience for me personally. And that keeps me going a lot. That keeps me
Absolutely.
connected to a sense of purpose and I don't know, a settled state in my life.
I was
That's
thinking
good.
about that this morning, how like that parent bond or someone who's extremely close to you, someone who you love unconditionally, that bond has to be, that gratitude probably never goes away. And that's something that you feel deep down. And that's what I was explaining to Trevor earlier when we were talking. For me, gratitude is more than being thankful. It's more than, it's just more of a, hey, thanks for holding the door for me and being grateful that someone held the door for me. Or thanks for picking up a Starbucks for me or something. It's more about, like you said, the intentionality of it and where it came from. And then I can construct or devise a feeling from that. Like I get a feeling from being grateful for that human being that did that nice gesture for me. It's no longer about the gesture. It's about humanity and being connected.
That's
on a deeper level.
Super interesting to me because it's almost like your intention is gratitude, and then the result of that is this positive emotion that kind of floods in.
Right.
And it's connected to interpersonal connectedness.
Yes.
Like something, and that probably triggers all of us when we think
Right.
about what we're truly grateful for, it usually has something to do with people, at least in my life.
Right.
Absolutely. And I think for most of us, I think that we find gratitude in the beauty of human connection and the people that are in our lives rather than things. Like, I can go home. I mean, I'm super grateful for my bed. It is really comfortable and I sleep most nights all night through. But like, it's a thing. It's an object. It's something that if it went away, I would be okay, because guess what? I can get another one. But a human life doesn't work that way.
Mm-hmm.
So it's easier for me to find gratitude in human connection and for people in my life, or people that just, breeze by like a shooting star. There was a reason that they popped in and popped out, but I find gratitude in those.
And I think
those
to kind of
connections.
add to that about what I said about the 18 months, I think that's exactly the thing where when you're seeing that person as an object and something that can just be replaced,
right.
That's when you lose that sort of feeling, when you're not seeing like the actual human like person they are.
Right. When you don't care about that and you see them as an activity or just an object or just another
Just something
notch
that
on the
can
belt.
make you feel happy. Yeah.
Man,
Yeah.
this is challenging,
This is good.
because I think it speaks to something different than we tend to focus on every day. I don't know
Right.
about you guys. When I scroll through Instagram, I'm not getting a ton of photos that speak to like the
Right.
depth of human connection.
Right.
I think I'm getting a lot of photos that speak to the objectivity of our world, right? Like,
Right.
look how great I look in this outfit, or
This cool dance move I can do.
yeah.
Although dancing is a favorite.
That's all over my Instagram.
I
I'm
still
sure it is.
haven't
Seriously.
been on Instagram since February 1st.
Really?
Good
Yeah.
for you.
All I do is TikTok dances on Instagram. It's weird.
That's all you do or see?
That's my feed. That's all I do.
That-
That's
that-
my
that-
whole.
I'm going
That's-
to get back
yeah.
on Instagram now just to see this.
Look, let me
Just
tell
to
you.
see.
I'm 100% sure.
I think I laughed harder just now than I did
That's
earlier.
funny.
I'm 100% sure Instagram would revoke my membership.
you
I would
definitely
be.
get-
I'd be
If that's all
canceled
it was.
for sure. Yes.
Yeah, you'd get removed.
All right. So how do we have gratitude? How do we do this? How do we pursue it? I think we've made the case that it's a universal connection to like mental health. I think we've made the case that we all sort of experience it, especially within the context of relationships. What do we do to get some of this gratitude? How do we get there? How do you guys produce it in your life?
For me, I don't always do this, but I try to practice gratitude a lot in my life. And journaling, you wrote about that in your article, is very helpful for me. And Alana, who's not here today, would speak to the fact that every time we're together, she's like, why don't you write that down? And I'm like, I will in 5 minutes. And I always forget. But in the morning, I have a notebook by my bed, and I do wake up most days and write down things that I'm grateful for. Or even if I don't write them down, I do a thank bank, and I look outside, and I'm just thankful for the birds that are chirping. And I have immense gratitude for the fact that I was able to wake up and live another day and be around people and get to experience this life no matter what it brings to me. And then in the evening, I try to close out the same way. Like, what about today? Even if it was hard and disastrous, what about today do I have to be grateful for or find gratitude in? And if you do that on a daily basis, like you said, 52 days, 52 weeks,
I think I said
52 weeks
Yeah.
of gratitude. And that's huge. That's every week in the entire year. So if you can't do it daily, or if you can, it takes 5 minutes just to practice, and then you will, feeling that, like I said earlier, evokes or enhances your serotonin and dopamine levels. So you start to feel better because you're grateful in your heart and in the core of your being.
So they've done cool research on what you just described. They'll have depressed people commit to a gratitude journal every day, and the outcomes are pretty amazing. Like it seems to suggest that if you literally just do a gratitude journal, you can decrease the level of depression that you have. That's pretty powerful. So in our app,
believe it.
we have a LiveWell Coaching App that we'll tell you guys about in a minute. And in the app, we push a gratitude prompt every day to your phone.
That's right.
Just kind of like 1 to 5, how grateful are you? And the idea is just thinking about that will help you feel better.
Right.
So
I forgot to ask, do I get to get on that app? I never asked that
Yes,
question.
Megan,
I need a
yes.
gratitude prompt every morning.
That's right.
you
so
do.
I actually, so I'm on the app and I see it every day.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
how does it
And
make
so
you feel?
It's awesome.
Good.
So it sends you a prompt in the morning, and then in the evening, that's when you get to rate yourself how you did.
Yeah.
And it's a set of 1 through 5. And then afterwards, you can go back and there's a measurable like analysis, and you can go back and look at the week or look at the month, and you can track to see how you're doing.
Awesome. I'll have to be my own coach.
You got this.
I can do
Yeah.
this.
But that's an example. That's super helpful.
That's
right?
very helpful.
It's a daily prompt, right? Something we put into our daily lives, a reminder
Right.
to be grateful.
And it's a healthy way to use your phone.
Mm-hmm. So I one thing that struck me too, Megan, about what you just said, you wake up and you hear the birds chirping, and you're grateful for the birds.
I have a story behind that if you want to hear it.
It's like a Disney princess, like like you just wake up and the birds chirp and.
Yeah, I'm like Snow White, and I like talk to them, and they're my friends.
She
No,
starts singing her song. And
That's right.
I have a story of why.
Okay.
So years ago, I was a camp counselor in California, and we took the kids to Yosemite Park, teenagers. I worked with teenagers, and we took them out in the woods. Well, I mean, we were in
The national park.
whatever, those little cabins. So, no, we were on a tent. I'm sorry, wrong time. We were on an island. I can't think of it. But right now, sorry.
Are you making this up as you go?
No.
Not Yosemite National Park. There's
We
no
did
islands
go to
there.
Yosemite, but then we went to the island that's right off of California.
You talking about San Diego?
No, it's. I'll remember it.
Okay.
But
Hawaii.
No. I can't believe I've lost my mind. But so
Yes.
anyway, so we took them camping, and I woke up one morning, and I just woke up, and there were birds like around, seagulls, and just they were making really obnoxious, loud noises. They weren't like chirping beautifully like the morning dove and singing little melodies and all of that. So I woke up and I was like, oh, these birds. Like, what is going on? Why are they right outside my tent? And I was like, super grumpy about it, and I voiced it loudly. And then every night we met at the fire with the other camp counselors, and we talked about things that we could have done better that day, and we all like called each other out basically. And then we talked about what we could have done better. So someone pointed that out to me and said, hey, you could have woken up and said something different, or maybe just thought it instead of voicing it, because now those teenagers are looking up to you and they're seeing your response to the birds in the morning.
Yeah.
So that hit me so hard. And so ever since then, I don't care if a bird's like making the most annoying sound in the entire world. I'm like,
What was
oh
that?
my God. I will be grateful for it, because guess what? I get to hear it. I get to live breathe another day of life, so I find gratitude in it regardless.
And I mean, it makes
That's
sense.
good.
It makes sense that that's going to affect depression, right? Because I think depression gets us so focused on what we don't have.
Yeah.
So focused on what's wrong and so focused on what's
right.
not gone right. A lot of times it's about regret. Man, I wish this was different. Or anxiety's about what I hope doesn't happen in the future, or what I'm scared is going to happen. That's pretty powerful to be able to say, okay, I can just live right here, right now, and value whatever I wake up to.
Good or bad.
Good or bad, which
And
is challenging.
It is challenging. It's not easy to do.
Yeah. I love the nuance even in your language. You say, I get to do it rather than I have to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
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 So a lot of people, when we're talking about this in the clinical office, will push back. Like, well, I just am not like that. I can't think of things I'm grateful for. And the truth is, it's all around us.
It is.
I mean, the reality is there are people in our life. There's a world out there. Nature's like
Right.
I don't care if you're living in the mountains by yourself right now.
I'd love to.
There's something to be grateful for.
But you're grateful for the river.
Oh, I'm absolutely grateful for this. How could I not be?
So this is what I look at a lot during the day right now, and I don't know, it's cool. One of my clients sat down today and said, "Hey, your co-counselor's really helped already." He was sitting here. I was like, "What are you talking about?" And he was watching a dolphin out there in the river.
That's cool.
Just kind of go,
That's so awesome.
"Isn't that cool?" And I thought,
Really
okay, well, that's a grateful moment. Yeah, it's a guy that was like allowing himself just to live right here, right now. So if that's you and you're saying, I can't do this, there are things in your life that you can be grateful for. So,
Absolutely.
if you have a house that you're living in or an apartment or a place to go to bed at night, you can be grateful for that. If you have a car that you get in that you can drive around in, you can be grateful for that. If you have food that you eat regularly, you can be grateful for that. If you're in good health, if you woke up today and you can like walk to the other side of the room. I saw an interview with a guy yesterday and he can't walk to the side of the room because he lost his limbs. Like, that's something to be grateful for. So you put that kind of focus and you combine it with what we were talking about earlier, with the focus on relationships and just the people in your life. Yeah. And we've all got things that we can be grateful for every day.
I know it's easy for us to say that for those that are listening, and it's easy when your life is good and cheerful and there's so much to be thankful for. It's not always easy to access gratitude when you're struggling, when you feel alone, when you don't want to wake up every morning, when you don't have a lot of people surrounding you for support and to cheer you on and make you feel better on a regular basis. So I think gratitude is not taking those things that you do have for granted.
Yeah.
I can't tell you the number of times when I was a kid, I would be like, hey, I'd rather hang out with my friends than spend time with my parents. Mm-hmm. And looking back, I love my friends, all of them. But but sometimes there were certain cases where I think maybe I should have spent that time with my parents instead of, going and doing whatever I was doing with my friends and being silly, even though that created who I was.
Right.
But still.
Right. Megan, that's awesome. Thinking about that, maybe, we talked earlier about the spiritual connection with gratitude.
Right.
All right. It made me think about, I think it's in Psalm 42, where, so in the Bible, it's in the Old Testament, David is the king, and he's in a season where he's running from the enemy, and he finds himself in a kind of a tough spot, and so he's there and he's crying out to God. In fact, says one verse, it says, "My tears have been my food for day and night, while people say to me all day long, 'Where is your God?'" So this idea that he's literally crying, as if it were his food, right? Like just tears down his face. A couple verses later, and this is when we think of it, it says, "Why so downcast, O my soul? Put your hope in God. For I will yet see him, my Savior and my God." And what I love about this, and the reminder of that, it's this idea that David started talking to himself, right? So he's Psalms is mostly made up of poetry or sometimes songs. And David was writing this song or this poem, and he at some point cuts in there and starts talking to himself. "Why so downcast, oh my soul," right? His own soul. Put your hope in God.
I love that.
That is awesome. I love that.
I think it illustrates the idea of gratitude really comes down to the battleground of our mind, right?
That's right.
What are we going to focus on?
That's right.
I have a buddy that wrote a whole book about it, like, because you can have a smorgasbord of thoughts that come at you at 24/7, right? And it's good and bad, but what are you choosing to focus on? So when we're talking about not condemning people and not like saying, "Hey, you shouldn't feel that way," or "Why are you depressed?" That's really not the idea of gratitude at all. The idea is
not.
what depression, anxiety, stress, grief. It's going to shoot a million different thoughts at you. And at some point, if we're ever going to get healthy, stay healthy, live well, we've got to be able to focus our thoughts on the kind of powerful thoughts that will yield the experience we want to live in. And gratitude, those grateful thoughts are the ones that ultimately are aligned in the research over and over and over again with healthy living.
Right. Yeah, when you talk this idea of David's talking to himself, this self-talk thing, right? Mm-hmm. When we talk about self-talk a lot in what we do, in clinical counseling and therapy, and so often it's negative. And just to your point, right? So this very simple practice or this habit that we can develop,
it becomes a pattern of our behavior. Mm-hmm. And you're saying what should be more positive, and actually there are some neuroscience in that. Like you said earlier, they've done a lot of studies on the journaling and what it's done for people who are living with depression. It actually, by practicing gratitude, we are invoking positive thinking. We're restructuring our cognitive behaviors and patterns, and we are firing off new neurons in the brain just by practicing that regularly. So it is powerful and can be scientifically.
So you create new neural pathways.
You wire and fire new neural pathways in the brain.
And you reinforce them.
And reinforce them by practicing and strengthening them.
And so you do it depressed, and you do it anxious, and you do it hurt, and you do it, down. And by the repetition of all that, you're literally creating the healthy neural pathways that are going to help you feel better over time.
Absolutely.
So it's pretty. It seems too simple.
Yeah.
But it's 100% not simple when you try to do it and you're feeling bad, or when you're tired. For me, it's when I'm tired, right? Driving to work in the morning, and it's 7:00, and I'm on US 1, and I'm tired, So I'm trying. I literally try every day to do what we're talking about, but sometimes, man, I just want to go home, and go to bed, right? So it's in that moment if I can muster the energy to say, hey, I am thankful to be able to have an office to walk into, to have people to speak into. It helps me prepare for my day and be the best that I can be. Yeah. All right, so we're running out of time here, but I want to make sure that we quickly go into the connection between gratitude and other people. And what I mean by that is a lot of times our experience of gratitude is regulated to ourselves. So I'm in my car and I'm thinking this, but that internalization of the gratitude becomes almost a self-centered experience unless we can begin to extend that gratitude out to the world around us. And so literally, when you start to reflect that grateful heart to the clerk at the grocery store, or to your spouse, or your significant other, or your kids, or your teacher, those are the moments that this starts to have tremendous power, because now you're treating people in a way that demonstrates that gratitude. And as you start to treat people like that, they're going to start to treat you differently. I mean, you go to the clerk at the grocery store and you're like, mean, which I'm not saying I would do that.
Or just blah,
like flat. Yeah. You're going to get flat back, right? And then you do that over and over all day, and you're like, people are just flat, and this world is boring, right? But if you go in and you're grateful, and you communicate that grateful heart to the clerk, hey, thank you. This was the best checkout experience I've had in weeks. I don't know what that sounds like with the clerk, but something like that. And that clerk is probably going to respond to you with bright eyes and, hey, thank you, that was awesome. And string together some of those interactions. And pretty soon other people are feeling better, we're feeling better, and it becomes, we're paying this gratitude forward.
Absolutely. I mean, I can speak as someone who's been in a depressed state or anxious, and I've definitely seen the difference when I'm feeling better, and I'm practicing gratitude a lot more and using the tools that I've learned in therapy, because it almost feels impossible to not spread the joy and the gratitude. It feels like it just naturally wants to seep out of you and just kind of sparkle. It just feels, it's just overflowing, Like, of course, I'm just gonna hold doors for people and take someone's cart back at the grocery store, or just notice when a friend is a friend or someone that I know is dealing with something hard, and it is more likely for me when I'm feeling good or if I'm struggling with the same thing to send a positive affirmation or just something uplifting their way, even if it's a text, a little picture or reminder, or just a phone call to say like, hey, I know you're hurting right now, but just, know you're not alone, and I'm here with you.
Or
whenever.
One of those what are those things on the text messages for an iPhone?
The GIF?
Those are great.
Yeah, we use
I send those all the time.
I know.
Yeah.
But there's so many things you can do. I mean, you could bring flowers over to someone's house and just say, hey, I wanted to brighten your day, when you know they're going through a hard time, and that's a way to pass forward that that gratitude.
Yeah, hearing you talk reminded me the close connection of gratitude and generosity, right? Generosity through our words, generosity through our actions,
right?
And how that plays significantly into this act of gratitude.
Absolutely.
We need so much more of this in our world. I mean, seriously, like that connection right there is huge. How often do I think, man, I'm scrolling through Facebook and people just aren't nice. They're not. They're the opposite of generous and kind. It's this mean, angry spirit. So for us to connect, like the idea that our gratitude for our own life is then going to connect to our generosity to other people is pretty powerful.
Right.
So.
And I mean, it's a free task to verbalize something to another human being.
Yeah.
That's positive and uplifting, and remind them that you are grateful that they exist, or you're grateful that they're here, or you have so much gratitude for their being in your life, just their presence alone. So
one more thing, and I think this is highly relevant: the connection between gratitude and contentment. And that's another thing we need way more of in our world. So that you got to look at it as gratitude is the pathway to contentment.
Yeah.
So, gratitude is a necessary prerequisite for contentment. So think about what we're saying. If we can get intentional about this, if everybody listening to this or watching this can get serious about this, it actually becomes a catalytic event, at least in your sphere of influence, right? Because you're being kinder to yourself. You're feeling better. You're less depressed, less anxious. Other people start to feel better. You're being generous to them, and everybody's just more content. That's a better world.
Yeah.
I think than what we see a lot of times these days. So,
contentment is huge. I mean, finding that place of peace. Right. Where, I don't know another synonym for it, but we're content. With where we are, with what we have. And
highly connected to mindfulness, right? Like, right, Megan? So
absolutely.
To be in a mindful state,
be aware.
You've got to be content. It's got to be enough. Like this world that we're living in has to be enough. So you're sitting out on your back porch and you watch the little bird fly in the sky and the warm sun on your face and the wind in your hair and the contentment of that moment. If you can let it be enough and just live right here, right now, that's where we start to feel better.
That's always enough. I mean, just you describing it just now, I just imagine sitting out there. Only the difference is I'd be like hands in the mud and the dirt and planting plants. But literally, like that was part of my evening last night, was doing that, and it was just so peaceful, and I was just relaxed for once.
And I think just to note that peace or that place, it doesn't necessarily have to be physical, right? I mean, it can be emotional, it can be spiritual, it can be mental. Back in the Bible, so in the New Testament this time, the Apostle Paul, he's in prison, he's writing a letter to the church of Thessalonica, so it's in the First Thessalonians, and he says, be thankful in all circumstances. And then he goes on to talk about this idea of contentment, right? So here's this guy who is stuck in prison, and he's writing this letter to his friends in Thessalonica. And again, it wasn't that he was physically in a place of peace. But he was emotionally and spiritually saying, hey, I'm content. I'm content in all things.
Yeah. Even this
Right.
this sucky situation.
Sitting
that
in a prison cell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just reminded me of something. Zig Ziglar said, of all the attitudes we can acquire, surely the attitude of gratitude is the most important and by far the most life-changing.
So I say we leave it with that.
That's the mic drop right there, Megan.
There we go. Thank you, Zig, for that. And, if you're watching this or listening to this podcast, we don't want to pretend that life is always awesome and that everything is always great, because we know that there's moments where we're all struggling. We live in a broken world, and there's just moments where it's not supposed to be like this, right? And so we acknowledge that. And our only goal today is to give you practical strategies that will help you begin to walk in that new life that you want to walk in. So we hope that you'll commit to this with us. Commit to gratitude every day. Commit to gratitude in the morning and in the evening, and find ways to pursue that with other people, and find that and consider that a pathway to your contentment. And as you do that, the research shows you're going to feel better. So have some hope that that's coming. If you want someone to help you walk that path, know this: we're here. LiveWell Behavioral Health has tons of therapists and clinicians and social workers and people that can manage your medications, all this incredible team that is here ready to help you go from where you're at to where you want to be. And our LiveWell Coaching App is really designed to help you wherever you're at, wherever you live. We connect you on an app on your phone that gives you this kind of information. Like, it's a lot of the same sort of information that we gave today, cognitive behavioral skills that will help you get less depressed or less anxious or less stressed. But we pair all that content through your phone with a real person on the other end of that app, a real coach that will work with you, that can have phone calls with you, that will text back and forth with you, give you accountability, affirmation, and be that change agent in your life and help you go from where you're at to where you want to be. We can't tell you enough about just how powerful this app is and how much it can actually help you if you're dealing with something. So if you'd like more information about that, if you want to get triggered like Trevor is every day with that gratitude prompt on the app, we want you to be able to do that. So don't hesitate to contact us at livewell-coaching.com. livewell-coaching.com is the best place that you can go to get information about the app and to fill out a form that will have someone contact you in 24 hours and just talk it through with you, tell you what it's about and how you can get connected. So we appreciate that. Megan, what do you got for me? One closing word?
Yes, you guys we're going to be accountability buddies, and next week we're going to check in at the beginning of the podcast and see who did their gratitude.
We got homework.
I've never gotten homework from the podcast before.
Well, we're doing it.
Well,
because we just said they're going to do it with us, so we're going to be grateful.
And you know what? If you're doing this, just put it in the comments, right? Can't they do that, Jacob, in the comments, how it works, and come back and give us an update. We'll do this with you guys.
Yep.
All right, listen.
Perfect.
Thanks so much for being here. We hope you enjoyed the content you got today on the podcast, and we will talk to you next time.
That's right. Have a great week.
Bye.
See ya.